Chapter 27. The bullet train was barely out of Foundation City when the gales kicked up, howling across the open landscape, tearing through the black fingers of winter trees. Tess gazed through the train's panoramic glass roof and saw some police surveillance drones heading back to the base. They couldn't fly in these conditions, which left the provinces pretty much unprotected during bad weather. Not that there were many people out here to protect. The endless snowfields were dotted with massive domed farms where the satellite-controlled machines ploughed and planted and harvested day and night, although small teams of engineers kept everything working. It was machines that really fed the Foundation City. Scattered communities still did exist, mainly people who had dropped out of city life, but they kept themselves to themselves. Beyond the northern hub, the leisure resorts took care of security by simply fencing in whole mountains. "You sure this is the right place to start?" Cillian asked as he watched the lights of the city recede in the gloaming. "I'm sure," Tess replied. "Only, I thought everything was run from the city now." "Well, it might be controlled there, but the things they want to hide, things that are a bit off the scale, that happens in the provinces." Cillian heard the note of warning in her voice. "Doesn't it worry you, coming back after what happened?" Tess looked out the window. The train line was running next to the Great Canal where convoys of massive barges were taking the city's trash for recycling and disposal. "Life's cheaper out here. That's just the way it is. But maybe that's going to help us." "Very reassuring," Cillian laughed nervously. With a gentle tilt, the bullet train peeled away from the canal and headed over the viaducts, crossing vast tracts that had been flooded to create reservoirs. Tess glanced at her smart cell. "See? We really are on our own now." Cillian checked the screen as one by one all the networks dropped away. "At least whatever we do out here, we won't be leaving traces on the net." It's weird though. As he glanced around the carriage, Cillian realised he wasn't the only one to feel anxious. A group of college students heading north on a ski trip were joking loudly, flipping the windows onto entertainment mode, trying to block out the rawness of the provinces. What was it really like, living out here? The question caught Tess off guard. No one's normally interested. It must have felt like being on a different planet. It felt free, I suppose. Maybe it's because I was a kid, but we did things that no one in the city does. We ran wild in the forest, spent whole days building pebble dams. The memories fluttered back to her. It seems like a long way off now. Certainly a long way from my childhood. "I bet you were all online gaming and social surfing." Cillian laughed, guilty. "No wonder you got on Fast Track." "I don't know about that." "You must have made a small fortune second-guessing stocks and shares with all your sixth sense or whatever you call it." "I wish. It doesn't quite work like that. There are too many hiddens in financial markets." Tess fired him a sceptical look. "But that's a pretty expensive university you're at." "I came up with this app for putting together the perfect online football team. It was just me and some mates, but it took off. Next thing, a bank got to hear about it and applied to their own management." "That's crazy." "It's how I got sponsored for uni." "We come from pretty different worlds, you and me." "Maybe," Cillian pointed out of the window at an imposing sawtooth ridge connecting three huge peaks. "But in a million years, all that will be left of Foundation City will be a thin band of dark rock in the side of a mountain, and no one will know any different." "Don't go all weird on me." "I think it's comforting. We're just passing through." "No, it's bleak." Tess watched him stare intently at the granite mountains. Suddenly he became unnaturally still and focused, as if his whole being had locked onto something. His hands lay flat on the small table, the fingers perfectly spaced. His eyes seemed to blink a little too slowly, and his breathing was unnervingly steady and controlled. Tess shuddered as she remembered the Supermar's ominous description, "an abomination." Deep down, there really was something unknowable about Cillian. He seemed normal on the surface, but a part of him was beating to an entirely different rhythm. You just had to know what to look for. "What happened to your mother, Cillian?" He snapped out of his reverie. "I never knew her. She died when I was born." "I'm sorry." "It's always just been me and my..." Then he remembered the brutal truth. That was in the past. Now he was alone. Tess felt guilt rising in her guts, like burning acid. She closed her eyes and clenched her fists, digging her nails into her palm. Are you okay? Cillian reached across the table. Tess? She opened her eyes quickly. What's wrong? Oh, nothing. Cillian looked at her searchingly. It's these tilting trains. They make me feel a bit sick. Here. He swiped the window to replace the landscape with an interactive display. That should help. You have to close the door on pain, Cillian. I learned that the hard way. It's the only way to deal with it. He nodded. My father was the only one thing I thought I knew. The fixed point. But I was wrong. The only thing you can rely on really is yourself, Tess said. Your own strength. The doors at the far end of the carriage slid open, and 2 armed police officers strolled in. Uniformed patrols had been doubled right across the city in the days since the metro attack. Tess knew it was little more than theatre, designed to reassure people that something was being done. The real policing was all intelligence-led, and Revelation was a master at staying hidden in the system. Nevertheless, she felt on edge, and she knew the police were trained to spot signs of anxiety. I'm just going to go freshen up, she said. Would you call the buffet bar? I could murder a coffee. The donuts on these trains are legendary, Cillian said, pulling up the food menu. Why not? She smiled. As the bathroom door slid shut, Tess double-clicked the locks. Immediately, a soft voice welcomed her to the sanitary pod and started guiding her through instructions for how to get the most refreshing and hygienic experience. She hit mute. Focus, deception was her job. She'd been trained to lie, to hold cover. The closer she let him get to her, the easier her job would become. That was all that mattered, getting the job done.